There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I gotta tell you, okay, calm down, breathe, calm down. You're okay. But I gotta tell you, Brachelle is here, and Brachelle, it is Halloween or All Saints Day, depending on where in the globe you are today. And we've got a great guest. He actually booked a little while ago, and he saw that Halloween was open, and so here he is. And so would you like to introduce our guest for the hour today?
I would love to. We have Bill Duvendack here with us today. He has an amazing website that just by seeing it probably make you have so many questions come through your mind, but it is billduvendack.com. And thank you for being here, Bill, and thank you for choosing this day. What we're going to talk about with you specifically is like extra powerful, right? Because the universe is vibrating a little differently today. So how are you?
I'm doing good, and I am just absolutely over the moon to be here. This is wonderful.
And well, thank you for saying that in the checks in the mail. But I wanted to mention to you that I talk to a great deal of people, but I don't talk to a great deal of people that were doing this work and going through your own journey way back in the late 90s. And the Positive Talk started in 2003, and it had a medical or a metaphysical basis to it. So you've been through all the wars of, you're an astrologer, what in the hell is that? To meditation, what the good God, that's a devil's work, and all of those back in the day. And you've seen it change from there to where it is today. It's been pretty substantial, hasn't it?
It has, and really I got interested in metaphysics and the occult back in the middle 1980s. So I was actually there for a lot of the satanic panic too. And when you put that into context of where it was then versus where it is now, it is amazing to see the changes. And now it's a larger platform. Now it's more positive. Now there's a lot more demystifying that's happening. And I am all on board for that.
Well, and so you've been doing this since you were 2.
Well, thank you. Speaking of checking the mail, teens, yeah. Yeah, I just got interested in ghosts and aliens, and from there just got curious about other topics, because I quickly learned growing up in the country that you can find somebody, or you can go to school, or you can find a book for this, that, and the other natural sciences. But at the time when it comes to this, the sources were not as available, and the people were kind of sketchy. So you really had to cut your own path through the jungle, to borrow a phrase. Nowadays, the access is easier, the quality of people are better, and the longevity is really showing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a time in the late 90s, and you'll remember this, and Brachelle was a mere child at the moment, but you'll remember this. There was kind of a spiritual metamorphosis, which led to books like Conversations with God and Neil Donald Walsh and Gary Zukav and Seed of the Soul, and him going on Oprah 35 times back in the day, and all of the things and people. And there was a real feeling at one point in time in the early 2000s where we had turned the corner, and that we were now going to be working together to live together in harmony and peace, and understand that we're all one and that we're all connected and all of that. And then things went badly again.
I know exactly what you're talking about because that vibe happened and really it kind of raised up to the peak around 2012. And then since 2012, we can see the major changes that have happened and things have really gone a direction I don't think many people could have forecasted.
They didn't, there was a time when, like, Neil Donald Walsh, with his Conversation with God books and the subsequent books, he had started a movement, and there was a lot of people that were studying the material and working with him and stuff. And then suddenly I think you're right about 2012, it all kind of disappeared. And now we're back to hate, division, and fear as a motivation for a lot of folks. And that's one of the reasons I'm so danged excited about having you here, is that we are all about getting people to understand that we need to be kind to each other, take care of each other, that we are all one, and to work together for things. And you've been doing this for a long time. He's also a Reverend, Burchell, so when you want to get married, he can do the ceremony for you as well.
Yes, I can. Actually, I
I'll
just did
remember
one
that.
in I just did one in Southern Indiana last weekend. It was my honor to do it. So yeah, you let me know. Well, we'll take care of it.
Someday I'll get there, right?
Hey, I totally get that.
I'm a little picky, so it might take a while, but you're first on my list, Bill.
Well, you should be picky. It's a major commitment. It's a major life change. It's a major experience. And no matter what your experience is, you always come out of it wiser if you extrapolate the lessons that you went through during it. So kudos to you for being choosy.
Well, thank you.
And absolutely. One of the things, Bill, that we don't talk about as a society is when people get married and maybe they go to premarital counseling or whatever, but nobody talks about energy match. Nobody talks about people getting together who resonate with the energy of the other person and the vibration that they hold together, and which, without that, it makes a relationship over time, once the initial infatuations wears off, over time it makes it difficult for people to resonate with each other and to move forward in unison. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I completely agree. And I'll even take it to a couple of extremes for you. First of all, one of my dear friends and former mentors who now transitioned into spirit was proficient in astrology too. And she introduced me to an idea that I lived for many years. And that idea is you don't date someone until you run the astrological charts together to make sure they're compatible. So not only did I listen to her words of wisdom, I also applied it to my own life for a good 15, 20 years. And let me tell you, it saved some heartbreak. It also taught me a lot about myself, because things I thought I was good at, I wasn't so good at, or things that the other person was projecting to me was a projection, not reality. So it was a huge learning curve, and my astrological bias is showing, because I encourage everybody to do that with their significant others. Look at how compatible you are, because like you said, looking at it astrologically, that shows an energetic compatibility.
Exactly. And by the way, everybody, if you're listening to this show live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, and you want to put a chat in to talk to Bill, you have a question, you have a thought, you have a comment, please do just make a comment in the comment section, and we will bring you on, just to say, if nothing else, just to say hello to Bill, because he is remarkable in what he does. And I'm so pleased. And I've already, by the way, Burchell, I've already told him that he has to come back multiple times.
Yep, you might be stuck with me.
Thinking, yeah, there's not enough time. So wait, Bill, I want to kind of encapsulate this, because we've got so much to talk about. I know. How long have you been doing the marriage stuff?
Since 2009.
Wow.
I went into business as a professional astrologer in 2008. So they kind of grew up together from a professional and personal development perspective.
Yeah, which is perfect, and I'll tell you why, because I've already got a few questions for you, and I'm gonna let them flow through our conversation because I've been good at that. um, but I'm thinking, so recently I went to a wedding. My Uncle Brian is somebody that no one would have ever thought would get married, let alone could deal with someone else or have somebody else love him that much, which bless Brenda's heart. I love her so much. And I'm thinking, because I'm sitting there and it's been a while since I went to a wedding, right? And I'm obviously younger than as young as I was when I prior went to it. I didn't understand the fortitude. But my mom has been married once, and Brian got married. He's over 50 years old. This is his first and hopefully last beautiful marriage. And where he came to being in his life and thinking about it prior. And I kind of want to tie in the astrology to this because you mentioned how things kind of changed. And I can see that maybe being a trend in marriage as well, where it was um, like I went to this wedding and if there was nobody with a dry eye because we realized how big of a deal this was energetically as a whole to Brian and Brenda being able to love and accept each other for exactly who they were and all of their past experiences. And then maybe back in the day before all of this started to nurture into energy and astrology and compatibility, you see people who've been married 5 or 6 times. And I thought to myself, how could we get to a point in ourselves as a human to get married and not cry? Right? Because like I would probably be that bride that would melt my makeup directly off in 5 minutes because I wouldn't be able to breathe and I'd be crying because the magnitude of that, would you say is so important because you're agreeing to conjoin your souls more than just sign a piece of paper? And how have we gotten to that point?
Yes, I would agree with that. And some of what I'm going to say here is kind of common knowledge, which is that it's a bonding experience. You have to be in it for the long haul. You have to be committed in it. You've got to understand that the other person's going to make mistakes. That's why forgiveness and compassion exists. You also have to understand that you're going to make mistakes. And I always point that out because many people always point to the other, but they never point at themselves. And pointing at themselves is where the true growth happens. So then the commitment comes in when one person grows, the other person grows, but both of them can take accountability for their own mistakes. I'm a big believer that the best apology is changed behavior. But what a lot of people don't take into account with that is that in order to see the changed behavior, then that person still has to be in your life to a certain degree.
Yep.
Where you can observe the changed behavior. Now, to go hand in hand with what you're talking about too, it's important to realize that we go through cycles of life from an astrological perspective, and a lot of people know this, things such as the Saturn return that happens about age 29 and a half or so, your Uranus opposition around age 40, which is your midlife crisis. Most people are familiar with those ideas, but what they don't realize is that businesses and relationships have those same cycles. So what that means is if you've ever heard the phrase a 7-year itch in a relationship, 7 years is a quarter of a Saturn cycle. So it is transiting Saturn, squaring or agitating the natal placement of Saturn for that relationship.
Oh,
Well,
that is
damn.
Mic drop.
That is really interesting. By the way, Lisa Allen is tuning in from Los Angeles.
Hey, Lisa.
Happy Samhain. What is that right? Did I say that right?
Salmon.
What is that?
It is the name of an ancient Celtic festival, the Festival of the Dead or the Ancestors, and that's what gave birth to Halloween as we know it today in a lot of ways.
And in some parts of the world, and I know you know this, this is All Saints Day.
Mm-hmm.
and and in the Philippines, where I have some friends and some coworkers that they call it something special down there, and that's the day that they go, that they especially, and we don't have that here. I
No.
wish. Oh,
Well,
it's
I'm almost
pronounced
thinking too.
Soween, summer's
Celine.
end.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, what you were saying is so prominent because other people are celebrating the fact that they're alive and respecting those who are dead, and the energy kind of comes into full circle. But if you're my age and you live in the US, you live this day as if you're gonna die. It's become a dangerous day. Does energy have to do with that too, Bill?
So it kind of does in a roundabout way. And I say that because even though Samhain is like the roots of honoring the ancestors and the dead, and there's a whole folklore side of to it that's probably outside of the scope of this discussion. But when you have that, you also have the idea of an appreciation of life. The problem is, over the centuries, a lot of other people and a lot of other cultures and societies have put a negative spin on Samhain. And that can be a problem because then you do have that negative energy that kind of bleeds over onto what was originally a fairly positive festival. So you get that mix of good and bad energy. I'm reminded a lot of Mexican traditions of Santa Muerte, where it's the idea that you honor the mother death, not just as a reminder of death and to embrace death when it comes, but also a motivator for living your best life. An appreciation of death should also be an appreciation of life too.
I agree.
Absolutely. By the way, we need to take a break, but before we do that, Vega Monster, and like Lisa said, happy Samhain to all. Hey guys, Bill is the man, and he was instrumental in my growth on my path. What up, man? And you can reach out to Vega Monster.
Yeah, what up, Vega?
And so we need to take a quick break, and we will be right back. This is going to be a really cool show, everybody. So I hope you tell your friends Bill is here, and we are going to be talking with him about the work that he does. And I want to touch on Purcell's sign and her day and her birth, and and we can even with Scalliner now. So we'll be right back and listen to these. These are really cool, and I want to play one because that is one of my favorites, because this is who Bill is. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. In a dark room, a single candle was lit. That tiny flame chased away the shadows, filling the space with hope. Your courage, your kindness, and your light may seem small at times, but it can change someone's entire world. Never underestimate the power you already carry inside. Even the smallest flame can ignite a fire that transforms lives. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Brachelle is here. And Brachelle, would you like to reintroduce our guest?
I would love to. We have Bill Duvendack here with us today. Go visit his website, which happens to be his name.com. And the last name is DUVENDACK.com. And Bill, I have to tell you, it's a little bit weird. Kevin understands that I'm more of a, I don't know how he would describe it. And it makes me nervous to almost ask him, but I'm a little bit of a different type of person, especially for my age and the life that I've been through. But I was also born on the 31st, as Kevin was mentioning, January 31st. So I'm an Aquarius. I am so curious and interested in what you say, because I've understood that I am maybe a little bit different than some other people. And that's okay. But I want to bring this experience up this morning. I was just telling Kevin, I woke up very calmly and I laid in bed and I talked to the universe and I talked to God and I kind of went over where I'm at this week and how I'm ending it and all those fun things. But the timing of everything that I did, I went to a store, changed my mind about going inside, called the pharmacy, went back to a coffee shop, got myself a coffee. And in all of that timing, from when I woke up, I was there in a split second where teenagers were crossing the road and another kid was flying by at the last minute on a scooter and he got hit. And I've been in so many, like, to me, this is just like, okay, it's another day. I get involved in lots of situations where it's fight or flight, panic, emergency. And this morning I felt differently about it. I was still very calm. I talked to all the teenagers who were most shook up than the kid who actually had been hit. And it wasn't severe. He's going to be just fine. He was just in shock and didn't see it coming, obviously, but it wasn't an intense thing. And I'm talking to these teenagers and I'm talking to them about things that they probably aren't taking in, but they'll remember, like everything happens for a reason. You get to choose your energy right now. You get to be still. Don't be afraid. Be proud that you were here and this situation could have been a lot worse than it was. And all these things came into play and I'm talking to the police and I'm filling out a report and I come home and I talk to Kevin and now I'm on the show with you. And I think some of us question a lot of times, like I do, why do I seem so different? And why am I involved in situations like this? And why does this happen at this timing? And rather than saying, why does this happen to me? I thought, how gracious is it that I am the perfect person to have in that situation because of how many times I've experienced this? And I kind of just brought calmness to the situation. And if you know me, that's not that's not really the thing. So it makes me think in myself that there's got to be so many people that they ask themselves, why am I this way? Why does this happen to me? What's going on? How do I maneuver through this? And if it's so simple as to maybe pay attention to the day and the time we were born and where we're at in our life could bring us a little bit of comfort. Like some people you'd say that to and be like, nah, Bill, you're crazy, whatever. But it's true.
I've been called
right?
worse. Yep, it's 100% true. And what we're talking about here, I'm going to put it in astrological terms.
Okay.
What we're talking about here is you've got someone's birth chart, which is a snapshot of where everything was in the heavens on the day and time and place of your birth. But then that is a static picture. And every day, almost every day, the planets move. Those moving planets are called transits. And when they form particular geometric angles to your natal planets, they trigger situations or likelihoods of you being in particular places when certain things happen or for certain things to happen. The reason I point this out is I could probably take your natal chart, put it in context of the transits of today and say that was the trigger that made it happen. Now, I break this down this simply because you're right. If more people knew about this, then they would have an idea of what's going to happen and when. But astrology is the map, not the territory. So you can't get locked in on my chart says this, so only this will happen. No, it says the likelihood of something having to do with the energies of these particular planets will happen. How you respond to them is all in your power. What it means to you is all you. What you take away from it, how you can be of service in those particular situations, that is all individual free will.
Bill, I gotta ask you this because this is incredible to me, and I want your opinion on it, whether you think that, as I have said before, whether I need to be on medication or not. But because I believe, and I know this to be a fact, is before I was born, I had a conversation with people around me and my team and everybody that was going to be in my life this time around, and we kind of mapped it out according to the person that I wanted to be and and all of the things that I wanted to do in this life. And then they went about creating the time and place of my birth that aligned with the stars according to where I was going to be and the type of person that I am and personality traits and what was going to happen, including my parents and who they were going to be and where I was going to be born and all of that. Is any of that true?
So from an objective perspective, who knows? It's agnostic. From a metaphysical perspective, when you factor in reincarnation and other revealed teachings, to me, it's 100% true. Now, as you probably suspect, that gets me into a lot of heated arguments with people that say that it's all happenstance, but I don't believe in coincidence.
Nope.
I share the same belief you do. Before I came down into physical form, my ascended self, my spirit allies, all the souls of the people I would meet and interact with in this lifetime, we all had a roundtable discussion, talked about possibilities not just for this life, but also how it balanced out situations from previous lives and how it lays a foundation for future lives. But then once I get down here into physical form, it's all about living in a free will zone. So just like we all made those agreements, I could easily come down here and say, well, the whole thing's bunk, forget it. I don't care what I agreed to before I signed up. And the problem with that idea is that then you're just going to have to repeat it later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're gonna do it now or you're gonna do it later. And so it brings me to another thing. And by the way, Lisa Allen comments, she said, you know what cracks me up? People say they don't believe in astrology, and it works whether they believe it or not.
And hence why it's a science.
You can, yes, indeed. Oh, by the way, we have another person, Embalmed Apple. You got some creative names coming in here.
we do.
Rochelle, read this one.
Yes, Embalmed Apple says, I found that the more I listen to my intuition, the more I find myself in those situations where I'm that person for others. And it's true, because what both you and Kevin were saying, I'm thinking of how you respond, yes, but how careful do we have to be about saying, oh, well, my chart says this, or I'm feeling this? Like, I woke up and I told Kevin I'm calm today. Like, I'm abnormally calm, and it's
You're welcome.
kind of a big energy day, right? But is there a point to where we need to also come back to ourselves rather than step outside of it and look at the astrological point of view to maybe, does that create fear in people? Like, where they're too focused on what's going to happen?
Yeah, and really it's kind of a complex answer, because you're 100% right. You cannot use your astrological chart as an excuse to be a certain way. We are the victors of our chart. We are not the victims of our chart. So we study our charts, we apply it to ourselves, we take away lessons, then we go out and live life, and we can fall back on understanding the chart. But we should always approach it from that perspective of, well, that's what my chart says. Do I choose to align with it or not? And okay, my chart says this, but that doesn't mean I have to do that. I can take it another way. So there's a lot of power there with personal responsibility and personal accountability. That is one of the pitfalls that I see a lot of people make, is they say, well, I'm this way because my chart says so.
Yeah. Girls my age love to say that. Drives me crazy.
Same here. And the funny thing is, several years ago, I went through a period where people were saying that, and I had a lot of similar traits in my chart. So I'd say, my chart says that too, and yet I'm not taking that attitude. What are you going to do now? It's a free will zone.
Yep.
And Bill, I have to ask you this, because almost 2 years ago now, I was seeing a life coach, dear friend of mine. Her name is Dana, and she is in Salt Lake, as is Rochelle. And I was talking with her, and we were having a coaching session, and I said, I have been trying for 20 years to find a really good co-host, somebody that I think would make the show better, and somebody that I really resonate with. And so she said, well, I know this girl, and who was also, Brachelle was Dana was Brachelle's coach, and she introduced us. And I knew at that moment that we would work together, and that even though there were issues and things, that she would end up being on the show. How did I know that? And is that part of the chart? Was that preordained? Was that a mystical thing? Explain it to me, because now today, even with all of our both of our warts and stuff, and we have many, we are working together. She has fewer warts than I do, but we are working together, and she is adding so much to the show, and she is taking it to another level that I believe the universe ordained, and this was preordained, that this was going to happen. People think that I'm crazy, but I don't think so.
It's your
No,
intuition.
I would say, right. I would say it was more mystical. It was an intuitive knowing. You sensed it, you intuitively felt that it was right, it was your gut reaction. Now, where that impulse came from probably came from a soul contract that happened before birth. You know, Nikola Tesla talked about it in still the clearest terms to this day. You've got to think about frequency and vibration. So when Dana told you that, there was a certain vibrational note that was struck within you that you felt a resonance and a harmony with.
Apparently that is so true. And by the way, we're talking with Bill Duvendack, and and BillDuvendack.com is where you go to get all of his information. It's a beautiful website, by the way, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm honored to have you here again. Dang it, the show's going to go too fast. I need more time. I need more time, but we need to take our halftime break, and Brachelle and I will be right back with Bill in just a minute and 10 seconds. So please stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to BrushwoodMediaNetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. See, that didn't take long. I had to do that because I'm supposed to, but we have Bill Duvendack with us, and Brachelle, he's remarkable, isn't he?
Yes, and actually I have a question for you, Kevin, because I'd like to know what Bill has to say. I just thought to myself, so I tell Kevin, I mean, he can tell you that I've become a completely different person in the last year or two. By choice. Now I realize I did it by choice. And I thought, as he was mentioning this, we've shared this story a few times about how we both said we were ready, and the universe was like, okay, well, here you go. Because before that I wasn't ready. I didn't even know I was ready then, if I'm being honest. But I've told Kevin a lot of times that the more I've learned to be connected to myself, maybe I should be on medication too. Let me know what you get prescribed, Kevin. But I can literally feel things happen before they do. I was just thinking about my dad in this whole conversation. He loves everything about astrology, and he just texted me, "Good morning, sweetie, honey. It's 1:30 our time," right? And so I can almost see and feel things before they happen, and I'm expectant of it. Kevin, were you that way? Was meeting me a surprise, or was that something that you kind of already knew was going to happen when you were talking to Dana?
I have a long history now, dating back when I was 41, 42. When the way that I say it, Bill, is that I said yes to the universe. I said, okay, so why am I here? I don't understand. You guys need to help me out here and tell me. From that day to this day, everything has lined up perfectly, and I've learned to trust what happens because it's for my ultimate good, because the universe and my guides, they're sitting they're sitting in a boardroom, and they've got a schematic of the show and my life and what's going on, and they're saying, okay, we're going to move this piece here, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to give this opportunity, and then as long as he keeps saying yes, then we're going to keep going. Does that make any sense at all?
It makes perfect sense to me. That's a very metaphysical view of things. And really, that's kind of one I adopt for my own, too. And I do agree that generally, when people come into our lives, we get this sense, we get an impression of them, and it's our energy sensing their energy. Now, a lot of times that's preordained before we come down into physical form. Sometimes it's not. One of the benefits of being incarnated in this physical reality is that you have a variety of people on various frequencies interacting with each other. And that is how we are able to move through so many spiritual lessons in a human life that would take us a lot longer to learn on the other side of the veil. Now, the reason I point this out is because not everybody that comes into your life is a soulmate. Not everybody that comes into your life is someone that you agreed to meet before coming into physical form. Sometimes there is the random jerk on the street, and it's not so much about having a soul contract with them. It's how do you handle adversity? How do you respond when you deal with someone outside of your frequency range?
So
And
when you,
that, go ahead.
I'm wondering for people who are like, what the hell is a metaphysical view? Can you explain your definition of that, Bill?
So essentially, metaphysics began in ancient Greece, so thousands of years ago. It is the idea that there are physics, there are laws of the universe that are greater than our understanding of consciousness and greater than our understanding of the natural world. So when we're talking about metaphysics, we are talking about the energetic principles of things that happen that we can't explain through other terms.
Gotcha. And because when you were saying that it was way back in Greece, I had a thought that just ran through my head that said, well, I was there.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the hallmark of an old soul. Many times people ask me how they should get started on their spiritual growth. They don't know where to start. They don't know what they connect with. And the first thing I tell them is look around at your interests, look around at your hobbies. If you are a person of mixed ethnicity living here in the US, but you have this passion for Celtic gods and goddesses, study ancient Celtic lands. You probably had a past life there. So it does not surprise me at all that you had that first thought. I had that when I went to Egypt many years ago. Is I have walked these routes before. I have been to these temples before many times, and I am honored and happy to be back.
Yeah.
Doesn't it change when you study astronomy like you do, or astrology, and you do what you do, and you can help people understand why they are behaving the way they are, and what their basic sign was, and where they came from, and all of those things. Isn't it comforting to understand those things and to not be flailing about with wild, I don't know what's going on, I can't even begin to guess, and stuff, because it gives you a basis of understanding that we are all one, and the universe is all together, and there is that universal energy that we can tap into, and all of those things. it just boggles my mind, because my life is so much more simple now that I've taken into the account that things happen for me always, and there's always a reason for it, and my job is to look and see what the reasoning is, and to apply it positively to my life, and it's turned out okay so far. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It brings me great comfort. Other people, not so much. But the reason for that is because that does require a bit of surrender. You have to admit that there are certain mysteries of the universe you don't know. And not everybody has humility as a character trait in this life. So, one symbolic system that I use nowadays, which really hits home with a lot of people, is to put ideas in the context of like video games. Before you came down in this life, you got to choose the character and the skin that you wanted. And if you die, you respawn and you come back and you pick up where you left off. The scenery might be different, but you're working through the same things. And that's one of the ways that technology has helped us. So I find great comfort in that. But other people get intimidated by it because you do have to admit the fact that you don't know. You have to admit the fact that there's going to be things come up that you don't understand, but it's still in your best interest to respond to them as positively and as effectively as you can.
And with that, I have to ask you, Bill, how do you keep people from maybe I've known of people who have learned these things and it kind of destroyed them, because it was so much, and it was like, well, me signing up for this, why don't I remember those things? Why do I have to relearn? Why don't I have this understanding? And I saw that maybe it sheltered them and made it dangerous in a way for them to live, because they were all of a sudden, it happened to me too. I'll admit that every move I make, every decision I make, every thought that I have, everything I do is creating the path of where the web is connected and where it's going to take me. How do you keep people like more free and open to that, rather than being so scared of every single thing they do?
So we're going to break this down a little bit, because I believe it was William Blake who had this phrase. I don't know if I'm saying it verbatim, but it was either him or the Marquis de Sade, so dealer's choice. But they basically said there's a fine line between genius and madness. And when some people get introduced to this, it does drive them to the point of madness, which usually denotes a weak psyche to begin with. Usually there's some kind of trauma in their background that's unhealed and usually extreme. And this is the thing that pushes them over the edge. Mm-hmm. So when I talk to people, and I can spot those clues fairly easily if they're on the surface, I always try and ground them. I went through a period in my 20s where it was all about self-exploration and just indulging my hobbies and my vices. And when I got to my 30s and started getting more into meditation, I kept getting all these secrets to the universe, and it was great, but I found out that I was just sitting on the couch wasting hours at a time meditating, and it really got under my skin. So finally, I had a talk with my spirit guides. They gave me some sort of secret key having to do with the flower of life mandala. And I said, that's great, but how does this help me pay the bills? And then I got crickets. And since then, my guides and I have worked a different direction of grounding these teachings into ways to improve your life. So when I'm talking to someone and I can see they're kind of skating that line of insanity or genius, we'll have that conversation, and then I'll just drop a truth bomb on them of, how are you going to use that to better your life? How are you going to put it into practice? What are you going to do with it? And the common response, which I've had too, is, well, I don't know. Well, then the next answer is, well, figure it out. Experiment. Try things out, because if this just remains a concept, you're going to waste a lot of your time in your head, when the whole point of being in life in incarnated form is to be engaged in life. So if you're hiding away, meditating for hours a day, you're not getting the lessons you've come here to learn.
Yep.
You've got to be engaged in life. You've got to be part of the process. You have to enjoy the process. You have to trust the process. You have to step outside of your comfort zone. Ask any seed. No growth happens in your comfort zone.
True.
Oh, that is so true. And speaking of which, you just said a magic word. So I've got to play this just real quick. It's just 33 seconds. And because and Rochelle knows exactly what I'm going to play, don't you?
I do.
As she's psychic. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is right there, and Bill Duvendack is right there. He is an astrologer of note. By the way, did you know that you are known worldwide? Did you know that, sir?
I had suspicions.
He is tremendous at what he does. He's going to become a friend of the shows, and again, is going to be on multiple times. I can only tell you that, because and Bill, there were people that came into my life because I'm a little older now. I can look back in retrospect, and I can see why things happened. As an example, I had a friend that I haven't talked to in 40 years that introduced me to Green River Community College, where I was an actor. I met my wife, and that's where we went in there, and we were going to study auto body, and I had no earthly idea. But he decided at the last minute while we're standing in line, I don't want to do this. So he left, and I was standing there, and right up front, I kid you not, right up front was theater extempore, the director. So I went and sat there. I took improvisational drama and the theater class, and I ended up in the play, and that's where I met my wife, and all of that happened in a dang day. And now I haven't talked to him in 40 years. Fast forward 20 years ago, and I was doing a spiritual classes and learning about meditation and mindfulness and thing. And one of the guys that I was doing it with, that I had just met, he was dating one of our best friends. And he came up to me and he said, we should do a television show to talk about all the things that we're learning. I had no earthly idea that I was going to do. I was a district sales manager. I had 11 reports. I was busy. I had a life. I had things. And he said, we should do a television show. So that led me, and I haven't talked to him in 20 years. And so that led me from being, I don't know what I'm going to do, to then finding a radio show and founding it, and that led to Positive Talk, and that led to where we are today with 1,200 and some odd. But it's all been divinely inspired. I know that now. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. Divine inspiration, spirit stepping in unexpectedly, those little synchronicities, those are all part of the path. And we kind of develop them on our own when we start to listen to our intuition. As we start to listen to ourselves, as we start listening to our inner voice, more of those alignments occur. Now, it's very much like what James Glick wrote about many years with the chaos theory. To us, it may look like chaos on the surface, but there is a logical alignment that is happening that we can't see. Now, the hardest part, and I'll be the first to admit that it's a problem, is trust. You have to trust that when everything looks chaotic, there is an order to it.
Yes, stop it! You stop it. because Bill, I see that happen where, please Please tell me that you've been in a situation where you were almost more aware of somebody else and what they were going through, and they're asking all these questions and the opportunities are coming to them, but they're not seeing it. Does that have to do with just going within? Does that mean they're looking too far out?
That's like a normal Wednesday to me.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And
Okay.
that's the hardest part, is when you're in that particular situation and you can see the opportunities that are coming their way, and you can also see the person is resistant to it. The hardest part is to get them to want to explore the opportunities for themselves. Because you can tell them, hey, check this out. You can say that till you're blue in the face. But 90% of the people out there aren't going to trust you, even if they're close friends. They've got to figure it out for themselves. So it's much like teaching. You tell them where to look, but you don't tell them what to find. So you guide them. You say, well, have you thought about this as an opportunity? And 50% of the time they're going to say, well, yeah, I thought about it, but no, it's not for me, or some other excuse like that. And then when you ask them how they tried it, they tell you that they worked through it in their heads. They didn't tell you that they actually talked to people that are doing it. They didn't tell you that they talked to people that are associated with that particular opportunity. They talk themselves out of it. And that's where the real challenge comes in.
Yeah. Well, you also can't force it on them if that's not their journey and their path. And it also means that maybe you're not aligned with yourself and in your own energy if you're focusing outward so much onto somebody. I caught myself doing that, and I see that it's pretty common with people of all ages that when we are unfulfilled and don't know how to handle something ourselves, we try to go out and help everybody else where we can see where they're going wrong. And really, we're stunting not only our growth, but theirs. Or am I wrong?
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And we can take this and magnify it. One of the lessons I learned early on is the lesson of appropriateness. So what I mean here is, if you let's take a generic example. Let's say you're out of work and you're looking for a job, and all your friends are giving you input and advice. The ones you listen to are the ones that have had a stable job. Don't listen to the ones that can't hold down a job for more than a couple weeks at a time. You know, I don't take financial advice from people that are constantly poor.
Oh, why not?
And they love
You
to
know?
give advice. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, or like with my business, I don't consult people that went bankrupt unless they went bankrupt because they had like medical expenses or some traumatic experience in their life that dictated it. It just doesn't make any sense. It's appropriateness. You listen to the people that know what they're talking about. Now, the problem is those people are oftentimes hard to get a hold of because they're too busy doing it. So you're kind of limited, or maybe they've got a skill set you don't, or maybe they have certain liberties in their life that you don't have. So it can get a little tricky, but that's the starting point. You know, you do seek those words of wisdom, or you do offer it, but you've also got to cut it with some logic. Discrimination and discernment are two very underestimated skills in spiritual development.
And we're running out of time right as you say that. What are the odds?
Go figure. It's the boundaries.
And Bill, before we go, I just have to say this. My birthday is 9/11, 1957. I think 9/11 has got significance in my chart. I've had it done, and they say it does. And she was born on January 31st, 1999, I think, right?
Correct.
Are we compatible from a working relationship? And especially her being an Aquarius, and she is... It's not fair, Bill. She's 26 years old and stuff.
Switch?
Yes, I do.
We can.
Although, can I be a guy and be 26? Would that? Because I don't know that I could take what you guys have to put up with. But
no, it'd probably be easier to be a female, as much as I would hate to say that, because Weird world that we're in.
So, but what do you think?
So there is some compatibility there from a professional perspective. A lot of ways, Virgo energy is very grounded, it's very practical, but it's a mutable sign, so it's open to ideas. And Aquarius is good at generating those ideas. Now, the challenge that goes with that, though, is that sometimes Aquarians stick to their habits and their routines, even though new ways would serve them better. And that's where the Virgo comes in, because the Virgo can say, well, you do it that way, why not do it this way? And then the Aquarius comes back on the back end and says, well, I don't need to hand ledger my books. There's an app for that.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bill.
So, Bill, is it one of the things when we first met, Rochelle and I, and she was pretty chaotic and was worried about this and worried about that in the future, and this is gonna, what about this and how about this, and I just said the gospel according to Paul McCartney, which I firmly believe was given to him by God, and that is let it be.
All we have is today. What about this? What about that? I don't know. That's tomorrow's problem. Go figure. You figure it out then. What are you doing today?
Isn't that a remarkably freeing attitude to have?
Yep. And
Tell
that's
me
the
about
politically correct version of phrasing it.
Well, because
and-
go ahead, Rochelle.
Go ahead. No, because I'm thinking that when Kevin told me that, what you just said is what kicked into play. Because if I'm worried about today and I'm like, okay, we'll worry about that tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes and that's today. It forced me to be present. I wasn't here and I wasn't there. I'm right here. This is where I have control. This is where I can guide myself. It was frustrating at first. It pissed me off. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Everything's just going to be. And I was like, I can control it though, right? No. And that surrendering is the most freeing thing I think I've ever been able to experience. So thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. Hey, Bill, I'm so sorry. We're going to run out of time, but I want to give you a moment to talk to our audience about anything that you would like them to know, how they can get a hold of you, how they can work with you, anything that is on your mind, is on your heart today.
Sure. Well, first of all, to everybody checking this out, thank you for checking it out. It is my honor to be here, and this has been a wonderful experience. For more work that I do, check out BillDuvendack.com. I'm also active on Patreon and on my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of things going on there. I'm all over social media, so pretty much your major outlets, you'll be able to find me. The YouTube channel has free courses. Every month I do a monthly astrological preview video to give you an idea of what's coming up. And really, that's about it. Everything else is, the engine is the website and then YouTube. And everything else is just kind of there, for lack of a better way to phrase it.
And if I can add this, that would be, if you are confused about life, you don't understand why you're here, you don't know where you're going or what you're going to be doing, first of all, trust that you already have a plan. But secondly, go talk to Bill, because he can help you find out why you do the things that you do based upon your chart, and can kind of give you a guidance of how you can live your life the way you designed it before you even got here and you don't know it. Am I correct in that, sir?
Yes, you are, sir. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Just remember, the only constant is change. So the good days, the only constant is change. The bad days, the only constant is change. Evolution, that's where it's at.
Welcome to Earth.
And like I tell Michelle all the time, this is a grand adventure. You were born great. A lot of times people spend the time telling us that you ain't so great. Disregard that. Go find yourself, and Bill can help. He's been doing this a long time. He's very gifted at it. And Bill, thank you so much for being here. Michelle, his website again is?
Yes, BillDuvendack.com. go check it out. And I'm going to leave you to decide where you're going to guide your life with Bill.
Thank you so much. And Bill, you got to come back, please.
Definitely. We'll make it happen. Just hit me up. We'll work it out behind the scenes.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We've enjoyed it greatly, and we'll leave you with one last greetings, everyone. Bill is amazing. Can't wait for Bill's book, hardcover astrological strategy to come out. When is that coming out, Bill?
Actually, it should be in the next couple of weeks. The soft cover's already out. It's available on Amazon, and the hardcover's on its way.
Well, then that means, you know what that means, don't you? You're going to have to come back and we'll promote the book and all of that. So, Rochelle, thank you so much. You've been a great addition to the show today.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Bill. Thanks, everybody, and
Thanks,
stay
Rochelle.
tuned. We've got more to come.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all